How you doing, guys? This is Eric from rulethewasteland.com. Right now, it's just going to be me for a few minutes. We'll see if the other guys are able to drop in later. If not, we'll just do a quick little. Okay, I just heard word from Shay. He said he will be here in a few minutes, so not a problem. In the meantime, it gives everybody a chance to drop in, try to pop open the chat here like we usually do, see what we can get going. Give everybody a chance to drop in. Let me know what you guys have been up to in the age of coronavirus. But the one thing that I wanted to mention, because you guys know what kind of a silver and gold bug I am, is holy cow, silver and gold. I made a tweet back in April, I believe, where I told everyone that the things you should wait to get are probably housing, used goods, and the things that you should, and guns. If you already did have some, you should probably wait because they're really expensive right now. The things you should get if you did not have are gold and silver, bitcoins, and guns if you didn't have any because you need some with all the crazy shit that's going on in the world. And that, at the time, I think Bitcoin was around $7,000. It's now 11.5. Silver was, I don't know, 18. Was it even that high? Now it's just under 30. Gold was around 1,700. Now it's over 2,000 all-time highs. Craziness. So that brings up another question. What's up, Donna and Considered Citizen? That brings up another question. Where does silver and gold go from here? I think that you ain't seen nothing yet, so to speak. I think they've got a ways to go. I think it's going to be tumultuous. How you doing, Marshall? I think it's going to be tumultuous, especially when we get into these all-time highs with gold, potentially all-time highs with silver. I mean, silver has to at least double from here, basically, to get into the all-time highs. But I definitely think it's going to happen at some point over the next couple of years. And so I don't think that it's bad to pick up silver even at these prices right now, especially if you're talking about physical that you're just going to hang on to for emergencies. Talking about silver, gold and silver mining stocks, those could, if gold and silver doubles again, those could easily quadruple, quintuple. If you're just talking about investment aspect of it, because you don't have the transaction cost. I mean, even with gold and silver at $30, silver at $30, you're talking about silver eagles, there's still $10, $12 premiums on these things. So you're not going to be picking up any silver eagles for $28. You're going to be paying closer to 40. I love poured silver. It's just my favorite. It seems to even have a different color to it. Real pirate treasure. This is 10-ounce bar. Hide in Southern Illinois. And so that's where we're at. Gold and silver, Bitcoin's popping up. I think it's just going to be a melt up for everything. Just like Gregory Mannarino's been talking about. If you haven't seen his channel, go check it out. We're talking about massive money printing, and with the stuff they're doing now, it's more directly going into the economy, a lot more velocity than we've seen on the money printing in the past with quantitative easing and things like that, which is mostly tied up in the banking sector. This stuff has a lot more like these stimulus payments, all that sort of stuff. Silver was $50 back in the 80s when the Hunt brothers cornered the market. Correct, and it was in just around 50, 48 or something back around 2010 as well, I think, as the high, which is crazy because I managed to sell a large percentage of my holdings at like $40-something. So it's a pretty much perfect time to get out. And I don't feel like selling right now, that's for sure. I really don't feel like it's not going to go up from here. I mean, I think it is going to go up from here quite considerably. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and throw them into the chat, all caps or super chat. If you guys don't mind throwing a few bucks this way. Also, for those of you who's interested, I finally have some more of the Rule the Wasteland Survival Fishing Kits back in stock. rulethewasteland.com. Pick up a few of those, just a couple dozen of them for now. So don't wait if you've been thinking about getting one. With cashless society, market beast, gold and silver can't save you. I mean, that's one of those things. Like, you can always come up with crazy scenarios where nothing. Yeah, if there's a nuclear bomb goes off, 2 miles from my house, yeah, lots of preparations aren't going to matter. But prepping is about having the things you need and preparing for resources, storing wealth, food, protection, all that stuff. You can always come up with scenarios to where nothing you can do will matter. You're just going to die. Okay. But that doesn't really change the fact that solid basic preparations are going to improve your chances of survival and improve your quality of life in the vast majority of scenarios that could occur. So yes, there are definitely scenarios could occur where nothing we do would matter, and we might as well have just spent all our money on strippers and cocaine or Corvettes or whatever. But what's the point of that? I mean, okay. Yeah, we should buy some metals. I agree. And they make it some shiny silver like this too. Start with the safest thing to buy probably is just some silver eagles. Yeah, they have a high premium, but they have really good resale. They're the easiest to resell and easily recognized, that sort of thing. So you can pick those up. And if you have a local coin shop, you can usually pick them up just a couple at a time if you want. Premium might be a little higher, but if you get an extra $50, you can go get one. You get just a little bit of time. What's up, Shay? How you doing, man? We are live.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Good. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. Looking good.
Just plugged in the headphones.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. Are we live?
Sounds good. Yep, we're live. So don't say
right
anything too
on.
crazy.
It's just you? Where's JJ?
JJ hasn't showed up or Denab too. I emailed them both.
Screw them. They're fired. Done.
They're all fired. Everyone's fired.
Yeah, my apologies, people.
No worries.
Welcome to the Prepper Trifecta. We're going to stick with that name. I'm
like
Shay
it.
from Prepper Logic. We're joined with Lord Humongous on Eric, a humble Eric.
Yeah.
We'll call him. It's been a couple weeks for me, and we're basically, if you're just
Me
new
too,
to the
yeah.
show, just catching this randomly online, we're a couple of hardcore veteran preppers. I think it's safe to say that we've got a bit of
Yeah.
experience with what we're doing, more than most people on YouTube land, and we just share our insights with respect to what's been going on with this quote unquote coronavirus, and what we feel may or may not happen. And we love, you know what I like, Eric? I really like the feedback we get from some of the people. I mean, sometimes they go off on, I don't know. They're just
Insane tangents. Yeah.
But
we cover a great variety of stuff that just brought up that we wouldn't necessarily even think of talking about. So it's
wide
pretty cool.
variety of people as well.
Yeah.
So, and some of the insight we get from the general public is pretty cool. So,
yeah.
So
I was
how are you?
talking pretty good. I was talking briefly in the last just 5 minutes or so about gold and silver and how that's been rising like crazy over the past couple months specifically. So I don't know if you're into that much. I don't think I've seen too many videos covering the topic on your channel at least, but it's definitely something
really.
that I've mentioned a few times. Pretty staple for financial preparedness for people who want to stay outside the normal system. So it's definitely interesting to finally see them kind of skyrocketing.
Yes, I'd agree. I mean, it's a no-brainer that it's a fundamental staple. If you're looking to be safe, you can't go wrong with gold or any precious metal for that matter. I've been looking into some of the virtual currencies, and there's a lot of volatile roller coaster things going on in the stock market. It's very right now. I'm just sucking in information. I'm grabbing as much information as I can before I decide to invest in anything else at this point. But I'm leaning towards the virtual for some reason. I think there's the potential for some sort of virtual currency to gain more trust or integrity within society. And it may not be in Canada or Las Vegas, but I don't see it going away. And we can even play on the fact that let's assume 10% of the population are just terrified of this and they just don't want to touch cash. We need to have some sort of virtual replacement for that. So
yeah, I agree. I've talked about, I think I mentioned a few times on my channel before, where definitely the technology is here to stay. The tough part is picking the winners in the crowded field, you know what I mean, of where to put your money. Like, even though I'm convinced that some sort of cryptocurrencies or altcoin or whatever you want to call it, virtual currencies, will be around 20, 30 years from now. Is it going to be any of the ones that are there now, let alone the Bitcoins or the ones that are more popular? Who knows? I do think that in the relatively short to medium term, we're going to see a melt up in all sorts of assets, stock market, cryptos, gold and silver. So I don't think it really is. I mean, there's going to be crazy volatility, but regardless of which cryptos you're talking about, I think most of them, if they have any sort of even general stability are going to be up a lot over, in the next couple of years, just because there's so much money going everywhere.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of that printed up. And I'm not a finance expert. I never claimed to be. I know a few things, but the most, I know a lot of preppers here in Canada. I've met a lot. The most intelligent ones have always sort of preached that the financial collapse is what they prep for. It seems to be the number
Right.
one thing. It's a very complex, interdependent system. And I'm still kind of baffled at how your government is they're just doing. You ever see the videos of the guys? They're just
Yeah,
printing
it's
it out
wild.
and they're throwing it out there. And I'm trying to computer process how, I guess we'll call it a balloon. It's just getting bigger and bigger. And it's like they're trying to patch a boat with a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
The best way to put it. And it's inevitable at this point that the boat's going to sink. So how different things react and how gold may go up. Well, gold, I think precious metals will go up in general, but how
Right.
the system reacts to that ship sinking is really what the financial experts.
Yeah, when we talk about when there actually is some sort of like legitimate currency crisis and not just a slow decay of the system, who knows? But I do think that I think like Gregory Mannarino's mentioned a few times that people see stuff like the Federal Reserve creating all this money as like an act of desperation, but it's actually the opposite. For the central banking model, their product is debt. So the more debt they create, the more powerful they become, the more they have their fingers embedded in everything. So yeah, it trashes the currency, but it doesn't make them weaker. So they're all too happy to inflate their balance sheets at tens of trillions or whatever, just print money. And the other side of it to me is we all look at this and say, like, how can this not end in some sort of total destruction? So why would you do this? But the other side of that is, if you know that's going to happen, even eventually, why wouldn't you just spam your money out there and use it to do whatever you want, knowing, like, if you knew you were going to default or declare bankruptcy in 10 years, would you try to pay off your debt, or would you just go ham and just buy whatever the hell you wanted?
That's right. Buy a bunch
knowing
of
that,
resources.
yeah, exactly. So that, to me, that's kind of what is. They know that at some point, even if they don't have it figured out already, like, I don't think we're going to get a gold and silver standard. I really don't. I think it's crazy. I don't think that'll ever happen. But regardless of what the new system is or the new currency or whatever they decide to go to, whether they have it figured out or not, I think they know this one is eventually going to have to be killed.
Right.
So
it's going to disappear, and that's going to be a devastating day or days or month or week or whatever for a lot of people. But it's also very amusing to me how it's like you're into fishing, right? We've got all these fish, and all the small fish are done. All the small businesses, like, just, they're not going to make it. But if you're big enough, then suddenly the government's like, well, yeah, okay, here's some money. It's very odd. I think Kanye West got some money.
Yeah.
You hear about this? And here's what about. Okay, and I could be mistaken, but my understanding is he got a bailout from I guess it would be the Republican Party. I don't know if there's a separate entity that decides who gets bailed out, of a lot of money. And I can understand power infrastructure, internet, communications, companies like that where, if we're thinking about Maslow's hierarchy, like, there's certain companies that we really should have, and we should keep going if things get really bad. And then there's Kanye West who's selling like clothing. It's
entertainment, clothing.
And he walks in with this. It's like going to the food bank with your Rolex on. Say, hey,
Right. I mean, my guess is if the Republicans did fund him in any way, it would be because they're hoping he plays spoiler in the election and soaks up, some Democrat votes, I guess.
Yes, maybe there would be a bias there, wouldn't be? Because if I were Trump, or in his administration, then maybe I'm going to give a few companies that support me or have, public. Well, it's a bailout,
Right.
Here's $50 million, Eric.
Right. I mean, exactly. I wish, like you said, that if they were following that plan of, let's just spend because we know we're going to default later anyway. I wish they would do it on infrastructure, things that actually have increased productivity, things like that, instead of just stimulus and just stuff that's going to go vapor.
Like meaningful things
something that actually bolsters the country, makes it stronger. Fixing bridges, killdozer shirts, things like that, like, real quality products.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions for us, for Eric, Lord Humongous, obviously, that's why you're here, or me, Shay, all caps in the in the chat box. I see Evil Blonde is here. I think she's
Yeah.
our #1 fan.
I think so. I like it.
I think I can't think of a time when she hasn't been
I
here.
know, very consistent, more consistent than us. She's probably there waiting for us on the days we've skipped.
Yeah.
So it's cool. Props to
Sunday.
her.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
early in the day, she sets it all up, lights a bunch of
Right.
candles, plays a little Enya before the show, gets
Some
some
ambiance going. Yeah.
Incense. Yeah.
Speaking of ambiance, they're really harshing my vibes here. They've gotten even more draconian with the weird mask rules here. I don't know about your area, but I just went out on Friday, I think it was. And now apparently the rules are you can't even take your mask down to drink, or you can't take your mask down unless you're eating or drinking. You can't have an alcoholic drink in front of you unless you have food. Yeah, and it's so stupid.
There's a conflict. Yes.
Right. Like the virus knows when you have a soggy basket of fries in front of you versus just a beer. I can't imagine how there haven't been lawsuits yet from like bars, suing that they're not allowed to be open, just because.
Well, dude, it's like the thing with JJ a month ago or some time ago where he said there's a church that got slapped with fines. They were all in their cars in the parking lot, which could be, any more safe, and yet people can be back to back in Walmart. So I think we're seeing regulations and policies being implemented without a lot of forethought. I mean, we are dealing with governments, and they don't exactly have a track record of intelligence. But there's also opportunity. So why don't we create a bunch of masks with like a check valve, one-way check valve, so connected to your straw with a cap over top your beer, and I don't know what to say. It doesn't make any sense. Like and it should be obvious to any political entity or any human being that, okay, well, if I'm here for food and I have a mask on, how?
Right. Or if I take my mask down to drink and that's safe, why would it be safe or not safe depending on what's sitting on the table? You know what I mean? It either is or it isn't safe, regardless of whether I'm doing it to pick my nose or to eat a hamburger or whatever. It's either making a difference scientifically or it's not. Something like that isn't going to make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. It's
pretty absurd.
How that plays out, it's over there. I don't know. It's up here. It's been I think we're about 100 cases a day in my province, rough average around there. The big concern is our Premier Ford, who I think is doing a decent job for the most part. They caught him off guard and they quoted him saying he's like feeling insecure about the school system and how that's going to work.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of animosity and insecurity with society here with how I forget the age. I should have brought up some stats, but there's a certain age where the kids don't have to wear masks and they're basically.
Yeah, I know when they did the initial mask mandate here, I think it was 8 years old and under didn't have to. But again, like what are these things based on? You know what I mean? Like, is that based on any real data? I lost your video, by the way. I don't know if you can hear me. No, it's all good. I just want to make sure I didn't lose you. But yeah, like, is any of that based on any real data? It's ridiculous. I think more of that stuff, like the rules about the food and everything, is them just getting salty that people are trying to find ways around it and then making rules to stop it. Not really to stop transmission of any virus or doing anything that makes sense in that regard, but literally just doing like, hey, this is how we're going to stop people from getting around our rule.
Yeah.
Which government does. That's how government does.
Maybe it's a little bit different than up here because I do see some degree of they're trying. Governments are opening up to having patios on what were formerly parking lots for restaurants that never had a patio before. They've allowed for alcohol delivery. That never used to happen. You guys haven't got Uber Eats there. You could never deliver alcohol. So I think they're trying the best they can with the knowledge they have. There's a lot of cesspool information out there. There's a lot of garbage coming through the drain pipe, I think. It's creating a lot of doubt. And it's weird how we've got this very large contrast or disparity between people that don't even believe the virus is real, don't think that's effective, don't think it's that serious. And, initially I was precautious. I think we all were.
Yeah, because we didn't know what all the data we were seeing. You have to kind of take it at face value until you have a reason not to. And like I said, my initial reaction was based on the way foreign governments were reacting and how serious they were taking it versus how serious they'd taken other diseases. And I was like, man, they didn't do any of this for these other things. So the fact that they're doing all of this means there might be something to it. So we should at least get potentially ready.
Yeah, I like how North Korea too. Speaking of other countries,
Yeah.
they've got zero.
I thought they finally had one case pop up.
Did they have one case?
I had-
Okay, maybe
I-
it's like they had one and now it's zero.
Some guy
So-
came like ran back from China or something, which was a weird story to begin with because I don't care how bad you have in China. I don't know why you'd ever flee back to North Korea. But
Right.
that's pretty
Gotta
rough.
get out of here.
Yeah.
Get back to North Korea.
Gotta get me home.
Yeah, it's very, very amusing.
But the interesting thing is also seeing how it's because people initially would post things about Sweden, some country like Sweden, which did almost no restrictions, and
Yes.
just let it kind of flare up and burn out and compare it to a place like Japan. But now Japan, like Sweden's pretty much done. Their cases are really rapidly dropping off. Didn't have any major issues. And now countries like Japan are having the same resurgence that like we're seeing in the US or anywhere else. Even though they had pretty widespread mask usage, people complied really well with that sort of stuff. So I really doubt, like I've said before, that the way that the masks are being used and the little loopholes and all the other just technical reasons, that's just not doing much. You'd have to have perfect usage, new one every time, not touching anything, all that stuff that we've talked about.
On top of that too, we're not fighting people that are, I don't want to say fight. I mean, it's difficult for me because there's sort of internal conflict. I want people to have personal freedoms to do what they want.
Right.
But at the same time, there a lot of people are playing this liberty card and not doing it lightly. I mean, there's people out there that like they've got protests and people are like they're fucking angry, like
Right.
we're not wearing a mask. This ain't happening. You're not taking away my personal freedoms and screw the government and all these other sorts of slogans and
Right.
phrases saying basically they don't want to, and they're very angry about it. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I think it would have been a great marketing ploy to put something on your masks, Biden 2020 or Trump
Yeah.
2020, any number of different things. And I think we talked about this a couple months ago. Like we'd have to
Yeah, we
provide some
mentioned
sort of incentive,
Right.
you know? What if you could pay people? What if you're a big company, like what's a big company? Apple, right? You have
Yeah,
a
like
contest.
have a mask. Yeah.
Have a mask. Only Apple issues it. They've got some sort of serial code associated with it.
It's
and they've got-
$1,000.
No, it's free. Here's the catch.
Okay.
This is a great idea. I'm just making this up on the spot. It's free. Apple releases it to whoever they want. Eric gets one, Shay gets one. And they have some beautiful girl in every state, and it's a competition. And she goes around and tries to find the guy wearing the Apple mask, any of them, or the girl, or whoever it is. And she does, boom, instantly gets $1,000.
You get like an iPhone or something like that.
You get an
Yeah.
iPhone, you put it on TikTok, you make a quick video. Guess what? You goddamn right, people start wearing masks then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there was an incentive, and it would have to be real, they'd have to pay out. And it would be a great marketing campaign for an organization. And it would also get people to wear masks as well. Because I guarantee if people are anti-mask, some of them out there would probably say, well, you know what? She's a hot girl.
$1,000. Yeah, exactly.
So,
How do you know she's hot though if she's got the mask on?
no, oh well, the photos, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
I was Googling a girl. I did a video a long time ago. I made a hot tub. Speaking of hot girls, somebody replied. She was on the thumbnail. She's gorgeous.
One of your videos?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Almost as good looking as Christy. Slide that in.
Ah!
Yeah, she's walking. Somebody commented and said, "Oh, that's blah 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 from Czech
I
Republic."
think it was Denise Milani or somebody, wasn't it?
Yes, Lonnie, that was the name. Yeah. So that was half an hour of my day just looking at photos.
Yeah, exactly.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
All right, we got some questions here. You want to go for it?
Yeah, let's see what we got. I lost my little window. I lost the pop-up window. Let me see what we got.
All right.
All right, so we got my Glock says mask is not needed. That was from Evil Blonde. I don't see. I'm in a state in Washington State with the governor having a room temperature IQ. How would it be possible to trust his judgment on mask requirements? I mean, that goes with anything that the government puts out. Same with the vaccine or anything else is that, and like I talked about JJ last time, is that when it comes to vaccine, like I'm not anti-vaccine in general, but saying vaccines is basically not even that much more restrictive than saying medicine, you know, but people have such ego about it. But you can't just automatically trust anything the government does. In fact, I'm much more lean towards automatic distrust of anything the government does, knowing how many different interests and all the reasons that they're doing things versus reasons you should be doing things or the reasons you personally would be doing things. You can basically be convinced that what they're doing is not the best way to deal with it. And is usually, when the government does something, going to have the exact opposite effect of what was originally intended. Not only is it not going to work, it's usually going to have the exact opposite effect.
That's funny.
So, yeah.
It's kind of what happened with Fauci and the whole mask thing, because at first they said you don't need them, blah, blah, blah. And a month ago, he comes out and says, he worded, I wish I could take the Twitter snapshot that, but he worded in such a way that, you know, he's like, well, we kind of need them now. He didn't use the word lie, but it was like the definition of lying.
Right. And like we said what we needed to say at the time, kind of thing, whatever. Yeah. That's what's so distasteful is if they had been like, you know what, we've looked at the data and now we've decided that we do need to do it and like owned up to the fact that they've even said this, that would be one thing. But they act like it never happened, like you're crazy for even thinking it, that this is we've always been at war with East Asia or whatever, you know what I mean? And that's what's so distasteful and just shows where they're really at, is that they're not saying, you know what, we were wrong. This is the way what we should be doing. Or like
it's worse than wrong, and it glorifies your earlier point, which is it is the exact opposite.
Exact opposite, yeah. Literally a 180, yeah.
And it wasn't due to incompetence on that part. It was more I guess it was all incompetent.
Right.
If they had the forethought that this would have happened, then they would have had set aside enough supplies for medical staff and whatnot.
Right, and it also highlights the fact that no matter what your position is, not you personally, but no matter what one's position is on masks, it would have been opposite of what the government is recommending at some point during this year, you know. And so people are lambasted whenever it is the opposite, you know, but they might have been having that opinion before and now it matches up and they were lambasted then and now they agree, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, you're giving me shit or vice versa. So it's just
like the cycle of confusion.
Right.
The analogy I like to use is it's like if you rent out a place, you've got no choice. You have to deal with these people. You got two roommates. One of them's corporations, and the other one's the media, and the landlord is the government. And it's just everybody's just trying to screw you. Is the best way to put it. But you know, my 2 cents, Mark, Chase, with respect to your question, I think that's part of the reason why we got into prepping, because if we didn't, the reason we prepare is because we think there's some sort of incompetence in terms of continuity for our own personal safety and security within the government. If the government had enough, if people trusted the government to take care of us in a disaster, none of us would be, and we believed it, and they legitimately could, none of us would be preppers, or at least not as far as the extent that we are. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I'm not anti-government. A lot of preppers seem to fall in that category. I'm anti-stupidity or anti-ignorance, and you would be an idiot not to see that not the Canadian government, any government has showcased ignorance and stupidity over and over and over again, especially in the face of disaster. And it's very simple to see that the people that prepared have it dramatically increases their chance of survival as opposed to just flowing down this river of incompetence.
Right. I agree. Yeah, it's definitely a crazy situation. Yeah, and I'm not an anarchist either, where I think there should be no government or that all government's inherently evil. It just trends that way because people are, corrupt.
Well, you know what? I think we need some sort of government, but there's, and it's nice that it is nice that there is some accountability with opposing parties going back and forth. There's going to be a lot of questions at the end of this. There's going to be a lot of books being written. There's going to be a lot of what if, should have done, could have. And I don't want any part of it. Let the government do whatever they got to do. I want to take my resources, stocks, and just things that I've got and just ride this wave out. And I think, Eric, you're doing the same. A lot of our audience is probably doing the same too.
Yeah, personal accountability basically is the cornerstone of prepping, is just taking responsibility for yourself for the things that you need in the future, regardless of what you think is going to happen. Because it's not that all these other people necessarily think that something serious could never happen in terms of disasters. They just think that when or if it does, oh, the government will do something about it.
Yeah.
You know, they'll send out meals or whatever. They'll take care of it. Whereas we're like, I'm not so sure. You know, I want to make sure that I have my own options. You know what I mean?
Exactly. What kind of personally baffles me, Eric,
Mhm.
is people that go through disasters, like extensive ones. We'll say Florida. You've been in Florida,
Oh, yeah.
and you've got the hurricane seasons out there, and people have experienced a very real disaster. Their car got flown up and did a 180 and flew over
Yeah, exactly.
100 miles an
Flooded
hour.
houses, whatever, shingles ripped off.
And yeah, and half their house is destroyed. And to me, that's a real life-changing, life-altering experience. And this baffles me. It genuinely baffles me. Is people go through that, and then 90% of them go, okay, you know, it was bad, and you know, maybe they stay at the aunt's house, or you know, they drink beer for 6 months and they deal with it psychologically or whatever. And then they just go back to their regular life.
Man, yeah, I would say that, like, because go ahead.
You know what I mean? Like the way that they were.
Right.
They don't, that preparedness shell isn't broken. They're not, I don't understand how it couldn't be when you experience it. You'd think, like, for me, like, okay, you know, I'm moving out of Florida, or I'm moving a little bit more safe, you know, I would instill these sort of.
Yeah, it was baffling to me because I lived in Florida for over 30 years, and we'd have hurricanes every single year. And every single year you would have the people, oh, the gas is getting hurricane season, oh, the water's sold out. And I'm like, how can you do this every year and not just buy it like at any other point during the year when you know it's available? You can just, it's not even more expensive or harder to do. It's actually easier and cheaper to do it any other point in the year. You know this is going to happen because it happens every year. And still, it would be the same thing every year.
Okay. So
Every year that there would be a major hurricane. So it wasn't literally every year, but most years there was a hurricane season. We'd get a couple that would have people rushing into the stores to buy stuff, you know, and the same things, the batteries, the flashlights, the plastic, the duct tape, the bottled water every year. And I'm like, why not just get a few jugs of this stuff, store it in your garage, and be ready? Crazy. It baffled me constantly.
Where you find out the 10% of the, you go to Costco and you get people to get a survey and say, what were you here for? Water, batteries, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You easily figure out who the idiots of society are.
Yeah.
The people that, you know, that's funny. I didn't know there was like a yearly thing in terms of resources there. That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, we had a few years where it was really light in terms of hurricanes, but for most of my growing up and then the last few years before I moved out west, yeah, it was like that. Where it's just
what made you move out west?
I had just lived in Florida for a long time. I'd been all over the U.S. traveling, so I knew I liked the Southwest. I was sick of the rain, honestly, in Florida. It rained like every day in the summer, like every day.
Really?
Despite being the sunshine state, it would be brief but torrential at like between noon and like 3. It would just dump on you, and then it would be like super humid and sticky, even though it was sunny the next morning, and then it would rain again. And I was just like, it'd make me angry, and I just wanted to. I just liked I knew I liked Vegas and the Southwest in general.
I see sun. When I think Florida, I see sun.
It is sunny, yeah.
Like, you know, mess up your hair, like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
It
was just hard to plan anything because you know that it would rain, and it was just, I just didn't like it, and I knew I liked it out here. So, I mean, I do like Florida still a lot, but
that must be tough.
That was one of the big reasons.
Yeah.
So I was looking at other states that had like relatively good gun laws, no state income tax, stuff like that. So that kind of narrows it down too. You know, so
South Florida, DCL.
Where are we looking?
You go through a major hurricane, it changes you every time. I disagree. I think it changes some people.
Right, because we were just talking about how some people doesn't.
Yeah, it almost like they embrace the
I honestly feel like for some people it was like a yearly ritual that they almost enjoyed, kind of like a holiday prep or like hanging up your Christmas lights. They're like, hurricane season, time to go stand in line and buy a bunch of bottled water. Like they almost like needed that. And to me, I was like, what?
It was a regular.
Yeah.
Right.
Why not just get a 55-gallon drum of water once and then never have to go back to the store? Another weird thing to me, which I've talked about in some videos before, is for whatever reason, like stuff that would disappear was like staple food. Everyone's like, oh, it's staples, but it was stuff like milk, eggs, and like these are like the worst foods to prep for like a power outage type situation, which is primarily the biggest concern for most hurricanes in Florida was power going out. most of the time, massive destruction was not a concern, especially if you were more than 5 or 10 miles inland from directly on the coast. You were looking at like a lot of rain and losing power. That was a concern, losing power. So having milk and eggs and bread and stuff like that, like these are the worst things to buy, but they would always disappear because they were viewed as like the staples that you have to have on hand, which I don't know who just sits there and drinks some milk, you know, just like.
It's a comfort thing when they're a little
Right.
boy, you know. Oh, have a warm glass of milk.
Just
Everything's going to be okay.
Sitting in the dark with a lukewarm glass of milk.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Pretend you fetch some eggs from the.
Yeah,
from
I mean,
the
eggs are okay because they're actually okay non-refrigerated most of the time, but
yes, yeah.
but like bread, and then it just
bread,
doesn't last that long. Just get a thing right.
No.
Yeah, anything that you could cook on a grill is better, you know.
Agreed. Mark Chase again is our number. I guess he gets the #1 fan award for this episode. 2 questions. This is awesome. You ever think of storing an abundance of hurricane preps and sell them at a premium?
Yeah, I've thought about that. It's viewed extremely unfavorably by the population, and yeah, distasteful, and a lot of times illegal. The scalp or the gouging or scalping or whatever. But yeah, it's certainly doable. But you would be viewed as like, oh, you're a horrible person. You should just be giving this away. I mean, we saw this just recently with the hand sanitizer and stuff like that people were hoarding and then resell, which that was like literally seized by the government in some cases. With that guy in Kentucky that had like all the hand sanitizer.
The skid.
Right. Yeah, like pallets of it. So that's sort of the same way people react to it in hurricane season. It's just viewed as you're just a horrible shitbag if you do that, taking advantage of the. You know.
People do, and the funny thing is, some of them, it's not a preparedness thing, you know, and there are people that are seeing marketing opportunities. They're seeing marketing opportunities right now. They're nothing to do with prepping. They're just saying, okay, well, now this has become really, really popular, or like this service or this product. Like we talked about this a month ago. Like plexiglass is probably the hottest thing, sliced bread a month ago.
Right. And like whatever the masks and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So have I? Yeah, I have. I don't really sell much. Here's an interestingly, Mark. I'll just tell you this tidbit. I got an issue with my flock of chickens, and I was looking for some advice, and I forget the name of the chemical. I've got it here. It's Amprol. There's some kind of bacterial infection or parasite infection within the flock. So there's a gentleman that offered 3 liters of it, and I was so appreciative. It was free. This stuff's expensive. I gave him 10 brand new masks, and
nice.
Like the good ones too, like N95 for NIOSH, the higher quality ones. Just because it was the right thing to do. This gentleman online is being pretty polite. So, yeah. But I think there's conversely as well. So instead of people trying to gouge, right, and not to suggest that I'm any kind of saint, because trust me, I'm not.
Right. Yeah, same here. Just don't need that kind of attention, honestly.
Yeah, I don't want to put myself on a pedestal. Hey, you know, I'm a nice guy. But there's definitely acts of kindness. So conversely, instead of people trying to get ripped off, we are seeing the good in humanity in some respects come out. We're also seeing the negativity too. I mean,
now, I will say that if I was interested in storing things specifically to sell in a non-major shit thing, like we're not talking post-apocalyptic, because then whatever's fair game. But in a situation like the COVID or like a hurricane, you're not really going to get the blowback if the stuff is viewed as not 100% necessary. Like if you're reselling ammo, you're not really going to have anyone in the general population get mad at you for like gouging people on ammunition because it's viewed as not something that people need. Same with stuff like that. Yeah, so ammo, liquor, things like that, you're probably not going to be viewed as like a shitty person. People think like, oh my god, toilet paper, like you should be giving this away because people need it, or the hand sanitizer, when really it's no different. And I've made a video before about how I think that price gouging actually benefits people in a lot of ways because it protects the supply. It's why price controls never work in communist countries, is because stuff just disappears. People buy up as much as they can, even if they don't need it, just because they know they might not see it again, and it's the same price. So having the price rise, the surge pricing, don't even call it gouging, call it surge pricing. Why is it okay for Uber to surge price to make sure that supply? That's literally the reason they say they do surge pricing on Uber, is to make drivers go to that area to supply the service. they raise the price. The drivers will be like, you know what, I'll go over there because I make more money. And that is the same thing if you had hand sanitizer. If all of a sudden hand sanitizer is $100 a case, that stuff starts coming out of the woodwork because people want the money, But if you just make the price the same, it just gets bought up instantly by anyone who can get their hands on it, and then it's gone. And people have it sitting in their shelf because why would they sell to anyone? Because they will only get the normal value and they might need it, so they'll just sit on it. Whereas if they could get 5-10 times face value, say, sure, I'll sell this. So it actually keeps it available in the marketplace.
Yeah, and supply and demand. I mean, Evil Blonde, ironically, it was just caught her comment here, any canning this year, and it was to complement your point, I reached around several farmers. I've got a couple good ones right now for ground beef, just bulk ground beef that I've been canning. And there's one on Facebook, or Marketplace, which is the sort of the classified sections of Facebook. And people post everything from tricycles to old TV antennas. So this would include ground beef from farmers. I'm a little bit north of Toronto in Ontario, Canada. A lot of rural areas here, farms, homesteads, things like that. And there's people that sell beef, ground beef. And one ad said,
Speaking of tricycles, that was one of the things that I didn't really predict, that apparently for months, bicycles have been really, really difficult to find and are getting huge premiums on the used market. Because a lot of times just for leisure, people don't have anything else to do in the pandemic, so they just want to bike around. And I guess partly because of, I don't know why else, transportation maybe, but I think it's mostly related to leisure.
I would say exercise.
Exercise and leisure, yeah. But I wouldn't have necessarily foreseen that one.
No, me neither. And it's the same thing up here. And good for them because, you see these mom and pop operations for selling bikes. And, I'm not a bike guy. Per se.
Really.
I enjoy biking with my daughter and whatnot periodically, but they're almost starving for business as it is throughout the year.
Right.
I would think, because they're competing against the Walmarts and these other sort of big conglomerate organizations.
Exactly.
And buying all this crap from China and offer it for $59.95. So you want to see the little guy, David Goliath, win. And that was a nice one to see the bikes, these bike places there's one that was driving past, it was outdoors, and there's like literally a lineup with people in masks. It made me happy.
That's cool,
that a couple months ago.
Especially right now with small businesses just getting absolutely bent over in so many ways.
Yeah.
That to see any of them actually not only surviving, but actually maybe thriving is great. So.
Yeah, and I would say, well, I'm not a mathematician or statistical analysis type of person, but 80% are dead. They're gone. They're just, or it's devastation. But there is that 20%, 10 to 20%, like the people that sell bikes, that mom and pop place that are just shot through. This is the best year of their life.
Ammo and guns too. Like we've had a few comments here.
Yeah.
Blowing up. Man, I made a comment on Twitter recently. Just normal, like Full Metal Jacket range ammo, 9 mils, like 50 cents a round right now, if you can even find it. Crazy.
No.
It was 17 cents a round probably like a year ago, something like that. Wow. You know what I mean? So basically almost tripled. And a lot of it's way more than that. We're talking the basic stuff. You can find it 9 mil for $1 a round sometimes if it's anything other than just the basic stuff.
It does. If there was a genuine, if companies were genuine in terms of, well, we need to raise the price because there's a demand, it would give us some sort of insight on what people are thinking. Mm-hmm. And we can see, okay, people are thinking about security because firearms and ammunition has gone through the roof, as they say. And the same things happened up here. It's hard to find firearms, and ammo has gone up in pricing. It's hard to find. Good pricing on ammo. And then food is another one. There's just these sort of, for whatever reason, the price of chicken has gone up. To complement what Evil Blonde was saying, have I done any canning, and what you were suggesting with the whole price gouging. I went to this farm. I went to this marketplace on Facebook, and it's $5 a pound. I'm like, okay, that's reasonable. I'm gonna try it out because I want to try a few different sources out and pick up 30 pans and pressure can it and throw it into storage. Called them up. Hi, want to pick up, your lean ground beef, $5 a pound? No, it's not. It's $6.50 a pound. And I said, well, why? It's some, idiot girl. It's like, oh, because of the pandemic. And I'm thinking, well, I think people are playing. They're surfing that wave. Well, because of the corona, we need to raise the price.
Right.
No, because of the pandemic, we are taking advantage of the situation and charging more.
Yeah.
So disappointing, but
Yeah. Speaking of storing meat, at least I finally was able to find a chest freezer again. So I
Oh,
didn't
cool.
actually,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't even actually pay that much. I found one brand new, but like on the used market, like previously owned, but still in the box, banded and everything for like 250 for 5.5 cubic foot one. So not
Good.
huge, but definitely the freezer we
okay.
had just, yeah, it's enough to actually have some room. So
Variety, different ways of storing food. That's good. What are you thinking about putting in there? What do
I
you
mean,
have in there?
I normally store a lot of bacon, ground beef, and random seafoods like shrimp, salmon,
Okay,
and
protein. Good.
and steak. Yeah, just a lot of meat.
Awesome. I always stock up after we had the Easter weekend there, and just ham, just everything's
Yeah.
on sale. All these hams on sale. I always get.
I'm not a big other than bacon. I don't eat a lot of pork.
I
To
don't
me, it's
either.
just
I don't
like big,
particularly.
like pork chops and stuff. To me, are just like
Yeah.
you have to cook them like well done. Basically, I'd rather have like a medium rare steak.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So or chicken. I eat a lot of chicken. So
But cheap. Pork is cheap. I don't know about Las
Right.
Vegas, but compared to ground beef or even ground chicken for that matter, pork is
it's a little cheaper, but I mean, when it's a ground beef, or certainly compared to chicken, I get my chicken like boneless leg quarters stuff for like $1.99 a pound at the Mexican supermarket like all day. So, and I actually like chicken better than pork. So
I do too, but well, it's hard to sort of.
instead of bacon, I do love bacon or pork belly,
good.
stuff like that.
Have you had Canadian bacon? Have you had Canadian?
Yeah, it's
You have?
fine.
Like female
Yeah,
bacon?
like thin slice, and I do like spam too. Like if it's fried in a pan, I do like that. It's a prepper kind of cliche prepper food, but I actually do like thin sliced spam fried to almost crispy is good. So.
Maybe we could start like a cooking show.
Yeah, right. Cooking for the apocalypse. Powdered eggs and thin spam, ready to go.
I've never had spam. I think I've read a few times on some memes while scrolling through Facebook about the ingredients or the process involved with spam. I don't
Everything
think
from the rooter to the tutor.
is that what they say? All right. Well, if I ever make it out there to Las Vegas, we'll drag Jay out. We'll have to have
spam dinner. There you go.
There we go.
We should do some memes. Yeah, let's do our memes.
Wow, this just flew by. We got 13 minutes left.
Yeah, whew.
I got a lot.
Good. I've got four or five, I think.
Got like 30. So.
Oh, nice. I'll do mine real quick then.
Well,
I think
I'm not gonna go through all mine. I can't.
Oh, you're gonna save some? All right.
Have to.
You're gonna hold back. All right. Well, I'll do mine. I think I already authorized sharing, but I'll go ahead and do mine first anyway.
Don't pull a JJ.
Yeah, right. All right. So here we've got. I don't think I've shown any of these yet, but I can never remember honestly. So right now we have coronavirus waiting to see if I forget to order food at the bar so it can attack me. going back to what we were saying, like the virus somehow knows why you have your mask down.
Yeah.
Then we got where do you see yourself in 20 years? Warrior of the wasteland, old crusty guy. Then we have when Bay has the Rona, but you love her anyway. And
I
then
can't go back to that last one.
This guy.
Yeah, I could see you could look like that in about 30 years. That's a future projection I see there.
Yeah, that could be me. Those would be really hard to draw from, those shoulder mounted 6 guns. How do you even do that?
Yeah, well, I guess, when you're a Jedi,
the wrong way. It would need to be the handles would need to come forward.
Oh, that's true.
To get like a cross draw.
He's got it backwards.
Yeah, how would you? Because if you're cross drawing like this, and if you're not cross drawing, how the hell are you getting that?
Yeah.
So for somebody else, for the guy next to you to whip it out, I guess.
Your ammo partner.
Yeah, someone came up with this for it to look cool. They didn't think about it.
Yeah, they didn't think about the logistics of actually
of cross drawing from way up here. Yeah, weird. So then we have raw dogging strangers is the best way to build your immune system. Anthony Fauci.
No.
That's all I got.
Okay. I'd say those are pretty good, man. You always come up with good memes. I don't know if I can.
Meme lord in training.
Yeah, if I can compete with that. Every week, week after week. Like I've got it at the top of my Bristol board. Beat Eric against his meme.
You have to come across them organically. You can't force it.
But I do. I think. Well,
you just have to build up a good meme network. And
I sent you one, but it's just too offensive.
Right? Yeah, too spicy for the live stream.
We want to keep this PG-13, as they say.
Right.
So because I'm on my phone, I've got another window open. Eric, talk to the audience for 30 seconds. I
Well,
gotta
you
look
figure
at
this
some
out.
notes here while I figure out stuff.
I'll
And
see if
I'll
I
just
can
say this much too. Ladies and gentlemen, am I on mute here?
There's a little bit of weird noises.
If you have any questions, all caps, please.
I've seen one from someone else up here who's mentioned something that I wanted to talk about. I forget what it was. Oh, even the cheap Plinker 22s are all sold out, Mark in LA said. Yeah, I've actually been looking into getting another 22 automatic pistol because I think for a lot of reasons, and one gun channel, Paul Harrell, I don't know if anyone subscribed to him, was talking about this recently too, how like the situation is kind of different than a lot that preppers would have otherwise anticipated, maybe, to where before capacity for a self-defense situation wasn't necessarily the biggest concern because most of the time, you know, the FBI stats, we all know that they talk about how you fire 6 or 7 shots usually in an encounter. But now we're seeing situations where it's much more likely that you're like pulled from your car by a mob of 20 or 30 people, and simultaneously we're having ammo shortages and things like that. And you can carry a lot more 22, obviously, than even something like 9mm. So having a 22 automatic pistol is something that's useful. I have a Ruger Mark IV, which is great, but it's relatively big and only holds 10 rounds. But that's kind of common with the 22 pistols, which is weird to only have a 10-round capacity, which when you have so many 9mm even having 17 up to 22 rounds or something like that, 21 plus 1, that why would a 22 long rifle, which is such a smaller round, only hold 10? So I've been looking at various 22 automatics that have a higher capacity, looking at a Taurus, and there's a X22, I think, and then even the Kel-Tec has one that holds up to like 33 rounds or something like that. So I've been checking out those if I can find one. And you can still find 22 occasionally, and I already have a lot of it. So that's something that might be on my purchase list when the new Trump stimulus bucks comes in. We'll see.
All right.
So
I think I'm ready.
All right, let's see it.
I got a little bit of controversy for some of this,
I like
but
it.
I don't care. It's Sunday night, so
yeah,
I'm gonna go for it.
Okay
I
with
apologize for the echo in advance. So you guys let me know when you can see the screen.
Now I see your whole page. Okay. He drew a mosquito on his hand so he can slap somebody.
Yeah, so you can slap somebody in the face. Yeah. I know.
I got the mosquito.
It doesn't have the same effect. When I look at these on Facebook, I'm laughing like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna decimate Eric. This is so funny. And then I bring him up here and it's like, so. Okay. Right. Don't throw head dolls. You can turn them into handy lights for your kids.
Nice and creepy.
Nice and creepy. This one I thought was funny with Joe Biden. With this kind of thing.
Even the aliens creeped out.
Yeah. And then Deanna Troy. I don't know why that's.
I like it.
We got OJ.
Yeah, I saw that one. Because for those of you who don't know, I have a white Ford Bronco from the early or mid '90s. It's actually one year off from OJ's. He had the '93. I have a '94, but identical vehicle, obviously. And the new ones are pretty cool. Everyone's been asking me like, "Oh, you're gonna get one?" I'm like, "Hey, they're like 55 G's if you want to get them with all the bells and whistles." So I'd rather dump that into mine and make it like an awesome resto mod. Yeah, exactly like I wanted. If I was gonna spend that much.
You know what that's from?
Yeah, it's RoboCop.
Yes, exactly.
You're not gonna catch me on a Verhoeven movie. Give me a break.
Finally, controversial. I don't know if you've seen this.
Right here, the warning signs, white supremacy. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Full-time employment, literacy, professional technical degree, regular church attendance, auto insurance, good credit rating.
Right.
No criminal record. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. That's funny. There's definitely a disparity, and I think some of the conservatives. Let me exit out of this one. Exit this echo in the background.
It's funny that Let's Talk About Prepping mentioned that the Ruger Mark 22s are not fun to service. I'm currently like mine, like just recently, I basically like stuck in disassembly. I have to get someone to look at it because I completely they're very difficult to like take apart, at least unless I'm crazy. And I need to get it looked at because it's like jammed and I literally can't take it apart without sort of whacking on it. So and I don't want to beat the fuck out of it.
You soak it in something, maybe like diesel.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it's literally, it's not like it's any corrosion or fouling. It's just I literally just did something weird and bound it up.
Down
So
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they're annoying to take apart. But yeah, I've been looking at something because they're great. It's a nail driver. I mean, it's super accurate because and it barely moves. It's so heavy for that. But for the size and the weight, a 10 capacity, it's just mediocre to me. You know, why not? If you can have a 9 mil with 21+1, why can't you have
Right.
at least, you know, something comparable with 22? So that's what I've been looking at. Trying to
I
get
think, well,
maybe.
because it depends on your circumstance and what you're doing. I'll say this much: if you're hunting, you're going to have different rifles as opposed to personal security. But I think it's a very subjective thing in terms of an all-round firearm or handgun or rifle,
Yeah.
shotgun for that matter. It's very subjective on what people think is going to be their ticket. I'm personally fond of, and I don't usually like to talk about firearms and security in
Right.
general, but I'll say this much. There's one, it's an Italian made, it's called the Chiappa, Little Badger. And they actually came up with it's just a little 22 hinge action, but it's very lightweight. And you can disassemble it and you can easily put it into a survival bug-out bag. But they came out with
Okay,
an
I'm looking that up now. Yeah, I've seen I forget the one that's that I've seen like that. I have a Marlin Papoose, which is kind of similar size, which is like
Yeah.
break down, the barrel comes off,
Yeah.
22 long rifle.
They
And
did come out with a breakaway. Do you see the newer one? I think it's called the Excalibur system, where you can, if you've got a 12 gauge insert, then you have these modified inserts where you could
Yeah.
do your
multiple rounds.
or whatever round you want. So they've got an over under like that with a 12 gauge 22,
Right.
which I'm looking at potentially getting. I forget the names. The name's off the top of my head right now, but then it comes with that Excalibur system. So then you've got all these other additional rounds that you could put into it, which
No matter what you scavenge, you could
Survivalist.
potentially use.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Ruger 1022 as well, which I think that's something like literally everybody should own, basically.
Yeah,
and
that's
every
an excellent
prepper.
rifle, I
Yeah,
think. Oh,
and you
The
can get
takedown?
55 round mags and everything like that. So
well, we can't up here, unfortunately.
yeah,
but
well,
they're limited. But that's a fantastic for a survival rifle, just all general purpose.
yeah.
Yes, agreed. There's another one out there. It's called I believe it's the 8R7. I think it's actually called the survival rifle, and they've got it. I think it's a breakaway too, where you can store it, and they've claimed that it floats, and you can put the
Right, I've seen that one. You
Put
can
the
now store
stock
it in the
the
stock and then it floats. But to me, I think that's they're lower capacity, I think, usually than the 1022. So I don't.
well, the issue, I played with one. They jam pretty easy, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's never good. I mean, that's one of the downsides of the rimfire ammo is it just isn't as reliable with feeding and everything else as centerfire ammunition. So, but with the cost and the amount you can carry and everything, it's
Yep.
pretty attractive from that perspective. But I wouldn't want it to be my primary defense weapon for those
Right.
reasons. It's just a little bit too weak, or significantly weaker, obviously, and there's
Yep.
that reliability element to
No,
it.
they get their attention. I mean, 22.
Yeah, I still think more people are killed with 22s every year than anything else, simply because of their
Yeah.
widespreadness. So it's certainly capable of.
Yes, capable. That's the right word.
Right. Yeah.
That's the capacity. But if you're talking about 0 to hero or 0 to 60 for defense,
To rule in the wasteland or whatever.
I don't think 22 is going to be I don't think that's going to have the punch that I need to send the message.
Right.
Yeah. Marlin 795, Zach and electric ATV, Caltech. Yeah, what's the sub 2000? Caltech. That was another interesting one as well. The folding.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a whole episode on guns.
Yeah. Right.
I generally don't. I just have ever really talked much about security, just because I think it's one thing to get in on here and talk about preps and what you do, how things like that. But when you start sharing different tactics, access control tactics, things like that, then you're exposing yourself to some degree vulnerably to the public, because there are psychos out there. Absolutely. I don't know what you've come across in your channel.
Yeah, weirdos every once in a while. Nothing too disturbing, luckily. But so I've been kind of lucky in that regard.
I've come across some severely deranged people.
Yeah.
Up here, unfortunately, and
Specifically on the channel or in the in-person meetups and everything.
Well, both.
Because I haven't done almost any of that really.
I'll give you one off the top of my head. That's nothing to do with the channel per se. I got an email from one guy who wanted to get into this, and he was going on about giant human skeletons being excavated. And we're only about 2 or 3
Nice.
emails in. I started my network. For those that are out there, I've got a network called the Ontario Prepper Survival Network, where we get together and we do, well, over the years, I've done everything from making primitive breads to a bicycle generator. And,
Yeah.
we get together and, sing happy songs and sing Kumbaya. And we wave a little happy Canada flag. So this is like 3 emails in. And he shows me this photo. He says, "You see what's going on, Jay? You see what's happening?" And it was kind of scary. It was this photo of a crew excavating a human body that must have been about 40 or 50 feet long. And it was obviously photoshopped. But what concerned me was, here's a guy that was very interested in preparedness, wanted to get all those sorts of stockpiles of stuff, but it was based in a world that was rooted in delusion and all sorts of other tap dance on other psychological disorders. It wasn't the fact that he sent me a photo of a 50-foot human skeleton with little men literally going around and trying to excavate it like this. Maybe they were all Asian, right? Because they're small. No.
Gulliver's Travels.
Bad joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad joke.
So Lilliputians.
It was the fact that he believed it. Like, he was really concerned. But that's a nice story in terms of the lunacy that I've seen up here. Now, it's not to suggest there aren't good people. There's a lot of people like you and JJ and the audience here that
we're all a little crazy, but
well, for the most part, they got their shit together. There are some crazies out there.
Yeah, I'm a little crazy. Man of the Hour says, "Did y'all hear about the supposed blackouts?" I don't know what that means. I'm assuming there's a typo in there somewhere, but
y'all, the supposed blackouts. Man of the Hour, please clarify.
Yeah, supposed blackouts. I'm not sure.
While you're doing that, what is the worst person you came across on your channel? Eric, you did a video on just reading all the bullshit.
Yeah, the mean comments or whatever, which I think are hilarious. None of those people are tended to be like, once you just get to a certain size channel to where you might pop up in someone's recommended or whatever, you'll get random trolls. Those were mostly random trolls. What we were talking about is more the people who are are preppers, you know what I mean? And so they're legitimately following the channel and really interested in contacting, but because the random comments like that are just general trolls, they'll just show up and say you have an ugly face or something like that.
Look you must have had, and I get that too, but I've also had the people that it's a 20-minute video. I get a dislike after I upload it. 30 seconds after that, I get a dislike, and I get a comment saying, you're whatever. And it's very funny. They obviously didn't watch the video, and it's the same person. Or there was a few people. It's very odd to me. It's like they've got this internal aggression towards me.
It's almost like it's a bizarre reverse fandom where they're still following you, they're still interested in everything you're doing, watch all your videos, but out of a negative. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Kind
of like a heel in the fighting or WWE where they watch to see them lose, but they still watch every one of their fights. Yeah, they're still invested in what they just want to show up to say you're wrong and whatever, but they're still coming and watching and commenting on every video.
Yeah, so, I've got some of those.
I haven't had too many of those, but I'm really not aggressive with the blocking and stuff, but I have just blocked 1 or 2 people over the years just because it's not even for anything that I consider egregious, but when you realize that all they're going to do is be a nuisance, then it's just block. Not because I'm insulted or whatever, because I really don't care. It actually baffles me when people take the YouTube comments and stuff so meaningfully. That's never been a problem for me, luckily. I literally am I'm not joking when I'm laughing at what they say. You know what I mean? And I think it's hilarious.
It is hilarious. Yeah. It's very entertaining.
Right. When they just come up with these bizarrely insulting comments. But
I think there was a phase for me. I think for a lot of, well, not preppers, but any YouTuber, they maybe they get emotional, they get offended, they try rationally trying to communicate with some of these people, not on a hardcore insult, maybe a semi sort of insult.
There's this one particular, sorry to cut you off, but I just remembered it. This one particular woman who showed up on my channel years ago, and apparently others, called Cindy Bin or whatever, and she goes on these rants about profanity and drug, and how she's been all over the internet trying to stop people from using profanity. And her channel is all about like weird dolls. Like she's like personifying all these doll collections and stuff. So she's pretty much a well-known like mentally ill person who just shows up occasionally and writes these like paragraph diatribes about like if you accidentally say, or not accidentally, but if you say like shit in your video or something.
Right.
Like, I can't believe you used the S word. I've been on the internet typing till my fingers bled for 10 years to get people to not use profanity. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, women already by design already have a mental illness higher than that. Yeah, Cindy, but never heard of her. Never heard of her. That's hilarious. And like
she's an anti-marijuana. Let's talk about prepping and scene, I guess. He's an anti-marijuana, like really aggressively anti-marijuana.
That's an interesting one because I think there's a lot of weed is definitely different from all the other crap out there. So in terms of a bargaining item, and in terms of a psychological diversion, just like alcohol or cigarettes or eating quality foods, believe it or not, I believe there is a place for weed in the post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah, why not?
People may even discover, people that never smoked weed before may find that could be.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's relatively, I mean, there's like basically zero real risk of anything when it comes in terms of like a medication of any, no matter what you're using it for. The risk factors are extremely low. There's basically zero chance of anything serious lasting effect happening. And the fact that it's easy to produce, you can grow it in most places in the United States probably if you needed to.
Well, forget the like the individual aspect too. Just remove the fact that it mellows you out. And those are all excellent valid points above and beyond what I'm going to say. But there's also the industrial application. We're destroying our environment.
Right.
You know, we could be making toilet paper and all sorts of products out of weed or hemp, which we should be because it grows 10 times faster than a tree, and there's all these wonderful qualities. So sorry to Cindy Bunn, and I'm sorry that she's anti-marijuana.
Yeah.
Well, good for her. You know, free country, free speech.
I think Blonde says she's offended that Che doesn't believe in giant Native Americans and the vast conspiracy by the Smithsonians to destroy the archaeological evidence.
Ha ha ha. That was very funny, Evil Blonde. I think it was the second time she's trying to make me laugh tonight. Well, I got to be polite. She's a number one fan, isn't she?
Yeah, right. Can't scare her off. Or she'll join the ranks of the trolls and start making fun of how we look.
Yeah, she's gonna go on the flip side and become one of those. What did you call it? Active.
Reverse fans or something.
Reverse fans. Yeah, she's gonna be here just mocking us.
Right, just to see us fail.
Yes, I say tax the hell out of weed like alcohol. Sure, I don't know. You know, that's a discussion for another time. I think we're going to wrap up here shortly. We're past our hour, but ladies and gentlemen, yeah, it did. It's been a couple weeks and it just flew by. We'll give it here another couple minutes, Eric, if that's okay with you. If anybody here has any questions, all caps, feel free to ask us about the current coronavirus situation or anything for that matter. I don't think any of my memes had anything to do with the coronavirus this evening.
Yeah, right. Only a couple of mine.
And if you're just joining us, we like to try and do this. Yeah, you got to get onto YouTube, you got that little thing, and move it backwards. Go back to the beginning. But we do this every week at 9 p.m. EST or
6 Pacific, whatever floats your boat.
Yep, and I have a lot of fun doing this.
It is awesome, yeah.
It's nice to sort of hash out some ideas. We didn't really talk about current events or news.
Not too much. Yeah, it's a little bit of the COVID, a little bit of gold and silver, going to the moon.
Yes. All right. So next week we're gonna have to do that. You grab a news story. I'll grab a news story. The hottest one of the week, whatever we think is, and we'll banter back and forth about the politics and the drama.
She doesn't. Evil Blonde doesn't like our memes. She said lame memes.
Yeah, good. Whatever.
Feel free to email me the fire memes then. rulethewasteland@gmail.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show me what you got.
The lizard's name was Hillary. You know, one thing we could have talked about was this doctor that Trump supported.
Yeah, that they've basically been unpersoned from the internet. Pretty wild.
Very, very. Did you hear about her? And she was suggesting that there's alien DNA and all these other sort of.
Oh yeah, I did feel that. I did hear that she's a little bit off the rails in some things, maybe. But yeah.
I don't know if we should be getting advice. I'll say this much. I don't know. I don't think we should be getting advice from people that advocate lizard people within the political system and alien DNA. I would.
It does,
question
it does show though that they, because they always have this idea or they promote this thing that you should listen to the experts, the science, but then as soon as someone who has the exact same credentials comes out and says something they don't like, they're just, nah, ignore, you know what I mean? So,
Yes, the credible person seems to just
Right.
get shut aside. Yeah. All right, well, I think our 2
cool.
minutes are up.
Yeah,
I'm
sounds
Che
good.
from Prep Logic. Thanks for joining us. Eric, any final words? Anything you'd like to say, brother?
Just say, let's go to rulewaysand.com. I got a few dozen of the fishing kits in stock. Check them out. Shirts.
Cool.
That's all I got. Thanks for coming again, man. It's been
For
fun.
sure. Okay, thanks, people. We'll talk to you next week.
Adios. Let me see.